In
Sure.
5. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Babe Show. This is Bitcoin and Blockchain Evolution. I'm your host, Sarah Herring, joined by my co-host / other host, Matt Davio. We have a fantastic guest on today. In fact, we were just thinking we're never going to get this guy on. He's way too bossy and powerful, but you are lucky. We are privileged to have on Thomas Power today. Tons of accolades, a lot of things going on. You're a powerhouse in business, of course, but you're moving into this space, which is what we, of course, are focusing on in this podcast, which is the crypto blockchain space. So just for all of our people out there, give us a little taste of who you are.
Okay, I'm 53, 54 next month. So I've been working now for 38 years since I was 16.
Don't
What
look
was your first
job?
What was your first job?
This is the guy who trained me, Alan Sugar.
He's a looker.
I worked for him in 1986, like a PA, like an apprentice. He runs the Apprentice show in the UK, so he's like your equivalent of Donald Trump, I guess, on the Apprentice show. And you'll find a lot of me in here 30 years ago. So it was through him I met Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, Michael Dell, Ross Perot, Rupert Murdoch, the original founders. I mean, I met Bill and Steve when they were an SME, when they were a small business, and Alan was a $1 billion pound company actually. So I learnt my trade, if you like, at the feet of the giants. And
so you've got you know what I find fascinating about your path, Thomas, is how you really started in the traditional, kind of big business world, all the way on upward to, boards of the traditional, publicly listed companies. And, really where you took off is when you kind of transitioned in assisting these large companies and making this jump over to the new world where there's so much information, there's so much data, there's so much social media, new, every day, something new. And making that transition from kind of a closed model to a wide open, transparent model. And you are a perfect indicator, not only hear what I say, but do what I do. And you're not just talking the talk. So talk about that a little bit, because I think, I was just having a conversation with some millennials here in my office, and we were having this conversation. Like, they want to participate with the people at the board level. They want to share ideas. And there's still this overriding piece that I don't have time. I want to hear you, but I just don't have time today. And I think that's really where what's fascinating about your career is that you took that knowledge and put that succinctly onto people's plates and really made that that transition front and center for people.
It's very kind of you to say. I would still say I've been a board member of many public companies and many private companies, and I still think the fundamental issue is one of education. That the tech industry itself, whether you want to call it Microsoft, IBM, Google, Twitter, Facebook, Ethereum, they're really poor at teaching board members the technology. They're really poor. The whole tech industry in Silicon Valley is hopeless at education and training. I mean, still to this day, I would say totally hopeless. And board members prefer to do nothing when they don't understand.
Right.
And so they choose nothing when they don't understand. And it's not really about time. The millennials are always in boardrooms trying to get things done. And good for them. They should always keep pushing, because one day they'll be in that boardroom saying no as well in 20 or 30 years. But the technology companies themselves just roll out mousetrap after mousetrap after mousetrap, idea after idea after idea, platform after platform after platform. Now token co, crypto co, blockchain co, AI co, boom, boom, boom. There's no education, there's no training, there's no context, and there's very little empathy around the existing business. the directors of those old cos, if we want to call them that, have got margins to protect, cash flow to deliver, dividends to pay, customers to satisfy, employees to grow, suppliers to pay, and it's complex. And they're trying to keep the old co cooking while all these new fairy tale new cos are thrown at them, and eventually they just say, forget it, I'll wait. And it's actually much easier for old co to buy a share in new co. And with the birth of these 1,500 crypto cos, token cos, new cos, it's much easier to wait. Among there's 1,500 in the last 18 months. There'll be another 3,000 token cos this year. There'll be 5,000 next year. By 2020, there'll be 10,000 of these crypto co token cos. Let's assume 99% of them have failed. Let's assume .com is like .coin and 100 get through. The key is finding the 100. My job is either to join the 100, invest in the 100, or be part of influencing the 100. And I think whatever the new mousetrap is, I still think the problem is it's not about time. It's that the board members are not educated in the context of the technology, of how it either improves margin, cash flow, helps suppliers, moves the dividend. The techs never look at everything in relation to the dividend and the margin that's got to be paid on the existing assets.
Right. Yeah. Here's what's interesting. If I can succinctly try to put what you said beautifully into a composite here, the legacy businesses, the old cos, obviously are driving the revenues, the profits. The future new cos, the 1,500 ICOs, the crypto companies, these software blocks that are out there have the potential very quickly. Here's the problem that I see. Very quickly, where they really can't ignore them today and wait as they could in the past, because wouldn't you say also though that the pace has proliferated so much so fast that there has to be people like you providing constant analysis and update and understanding, so that again, that go-between, so I can explain why our ROI will benefit and our revenues will benefit from this new block technology, as an example.
No, I don't think that. I think the old cos can afford to wait.
Okay.
I really do. Obviously, a few of the giant ones are already free in a way, like Ripple, like Ethereum, like Cardano. They're up and away and free. They're into multi-billion market cap. It's token cap, and we don't know what token market cap is yet, really. But I do think one of the interesting things about old co IPO, if you like, and new co ICO, is that the IPO capital was always about building infrastructure, platform, hiring the right people, paying for the listing on a public market, and doing all the things that an IPO does. What's interesting about the ICO, the token co, the crypto co, whatever label you wish to give to that, is the token co is about building community, about building audience, about building attention, about capturing support in a Telegram group, which seems to be the popular group now where most of these 1,500 token cos are sitting. So we've got a split, if you like, between old co capital infrastructure platform IPO and new co capital, which is this token capital, this token co, focused on audience, community, marketing, relationship. And I think that's a separation. And it might be that this is the birth of a two kind of company, where you've got platform capital and community capital. And that's what the ICO is about. And if that's true, the old cos can wait. And the old cos that don't wait, it's possible that token co, crypto co, in a couple of years, when they get some decent cash, can then acquire old co.
Right.
And so I think we'll see both ways. And ideally, we want it to be both ways, because that's a proper market.
Right.
And if you're running a $1 billion company or a $5 billion company, somebody keeps waving a new mousetrap in front of you called crypto co, token co, you're working 100 hours a week. You're living at an airport. You cannot look at a new mousetrap.
Right.
It's just impossible.
I feel like we jumped so far so fast. For example, some of our listeners and viewers who we were getting the beginning, early stages of your story, then we right to what is the core of some of the things that you're working on and doing right now.
Sorry.
No, that's not you at all. But can we like pump the brakes a little bit and talk a little bit more about how you've organically, you obviously have a lot of, you're talking about some of the more social elements of the things you're working on. I think part of your story will probably make sense into why there's social in there, why there's crypto, business, how these all come together. Can you bring some of the people up to speed from, we're working with Steve Jobs and you know, the boys, and then let's talk a little bit about.
Okay, I never actually met Steve Jobs, unfortunately, but I've met all the Microsoft guys and pretty much most of the guys in the Valley and Jeff at Amazon and so on. I think that if I go back to the mid to late 80s, the sentence that really changed my life was by a South African guy called Tony Code, who said that in 1987 he came into Amsterdam. I was working for Alan, this guy, Lord Sugar, as he now is in the House of Lords, and he said all roads lead to database. And this sentence just knocked me over like a feather. I was 23 years old. All roads lead to database. What does that mean? All roads lead to database. And about 3 or 4 months after that, I met Michael Dell at the PC User Conference in the summer of '87. Michael and I were the same age. He's 23. I was 23. And we talked for 4 hours, and he talked to me about direct relationship marketing, about direct marketing of computers. And in those days, Dell was called PCs Limited. It wasn't even Dell back then. And I went back to see Alan, and I said, I've met this young guy. He's the same age as me, and he's miles cleverer than you. And he was furious with me, because Alan was a billionaire back then, and Michael was a startup. But Michael was just so sharp. And I think these little events, these little stories, these little nudges, even a sentence in your career can last for 30 years. And so I've had lots of little events like that with various different people. Some of the giant techs. In 2004, Sean Parker, you may remember, who's behind Plaxo and Spotify and was played by Justin Timberlake.
Right.
Sean's only written one testimonial in his career, his whole life on LinkedIn, and it's mine. And one of the things Sean put on that testimonial in 2004 was, if LinkedIn allowed Thomas Power to keep running LinkedIn the way he is, everyone would have to pass through him to meet somebody else. Now, what's interesting about this is Reed was furious about this, obviously, and which is why the limit on 30,000 contacts was kicked in literally the following week. So I haven't been able to add any more contacts since then, and everyone was furious with me over this testimonial. I got this testimonial from someone who is now a billionaire, but at the time was a bankrupt from being annihilated by Napster. So I've got a testimonial both from a bankrupt and a billionaire. But at the time, Sean understood exactly what I was doing. I was controlling the whole of the LinkedIn network, because Penny and I had built Academy up to nearly 500,000 members. Members paid $10 a month to use our system. It was the world's first business social network. It spread all over the world. Our 3 kids thought we had a travel company. And we kind of really invented sort of social media, posting, blogging, tweeting, groups, events, education, training. It spread all over the world, way before LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So I had all that knowledge early on in the late 90s, early 2000s. And when you've learned the sort of retail software, PC, hardware business, you learn the social business, you understand analysis and databases. I'm quite geeky and codey as well as social. You kind of, when you see tokens come along, or tokenomics or cryptonomics come along, you finally realize there's a way to pay for attention.
Right.
And the big shift really, other than the ICO is really an attack on the VC, the big shift is attention is now the product. Everyone is buried in messages. emails, WhatsApp, phone calls. Even you and I, Matt, just trying to get a calendar
Right.
date to have a call like this. You know, you're sending me a calendar link. I'm looking at it, doesn't match my calendar. You know, just even putting a date in a calendar is hard.
Yep.
Right? Everyone is swamped, and one of the things that my 3 kids are all in their 20s now. One of the things I find fascinating with the kids is any amount of new technology does not really faze them or interest them. It's almost like everything is nothing.
Right.
You know, VR, AI, blockchain, tokens, cryptos, blah, 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 blah. What they care about is what are the ingredients in their food? What are they eating? How much are they exercising? They care about food. 30 years ago, we cared about technology. We ate whatever food we were given.
Right.
And, you know, I still care more about technology than I do about food. But what's happened is because people are buried, you've now got to pay for attention. And that's the big shift. And if you want someone's attention, you've got to buy it. And any brand that doesn't realize that they've got to pay for attention with tokens is a dead man walking or a dead woman walking. Whatever is the right phrase now in this politically correct world where you can't see anything wrong. But to me, from hardware and software to retail to databases to market analysis to social media to social networking into crypto, it's a very easy flow, Sarah. It's all roads lead to database. And it's still all the way back to 1986, 87. We're still just connecting databases. One of the big failings, I think, of the tech industry itself in terms of social media, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, all these kind of information providers, social media providers, is they've still failed to match people up in their conversations. They don't connect people together properly based on conversations. And there's so many opportunities I see on Twitter every day. I watch my TweetDeck streaming by. I've got a great big monitor that I'm sitting in front of now. I watch thousands and thousands. I probably read 10,000 tweets every day. And based on keywords, I can say, oh, Matt should speak to Sarah, Sarah should speak to Penny, Penny should speak to Rob. And I just connect them. And it's so easy. It's so easy to do when you know how to do it. But really, all of this should be done by AI. Sorry, Matt, I'm talking too much and not letting you ask.
No. This is great. I couldn't agree more with you.
What Facebook is doing, actually. I just had a meeting with in Israel with one of the guys who works for Facebook, and they're I think coming to a conclusion you clearly have come to long before, which is that community is like infinitely more important than hits or likes or clicks or whatever. That actually people engage more when they find other people who they want to engage with. And they're just
that's right, because
the algorithm supposedly now, right, to meet this demand.
That's right, Sarah, because all humans connect on keywords. You say a keyword from a school, a college, a university, a subject, a city, a country, a baby, a dog, a sport, you connect. And when you see those connections, and still my favorite product to this day is TweetDeck, written by Ian Dodsworth.
I love it. It's one of my favorites also. Yeah.
Because it's real time. It's worth. I'm not interested in pictures on Instagram. I'm not really interested in videos on YouTube. I'm a word guy. I was brought up by my dad to read books. I like words. I had to read a book a week when I was a kid. I wasn't allowed to watch television. As a result, I'm a Netflix junkie 50 years later. I live on words. I love words. And in words, you can connect. And I really think the Silicon Valley guys, they focus very much on tools and information, but they don't focus on the outcomes that people want. People want deals, they want income, they want money, they want opportunity, they want the right suppliers, they want the right investors, they want the right relationships, they want the right intimacy. And all of that can be done by machines and AI. We've got all the data, and they don't organize it. I think they're lazy for doing it.
Right.
I think it's just lazy. Because they've got the machines, they've got the algorithms, they've got the data, they just don't cocktail it. They're sloppy. And when you go to China and realize now how far ahead China is of Silicon Valley, you realize, I've never seen a competitor take on America. I mean, the Japanese had a go, with their cars and tape decks in the 80s, but boom, they got slapped down.
Yep.
Chinese Silicon Valley is miles ahead now of San Francisco. And it's sloppiness because Twitter's too slow, Facebook's too slow, LinkedIn's too slow, Google's too slow. These companies are too slow now.
Yeah.
And it's only when you consume all the content worldwide and you work in boards around the world like I do, you see, well, America's not going at the speed it used to. Yeah, America's a very fast economy. It's just the Chinese just work like dogs. You know, they never stop, those guys.
Yeah.
It's so
Matter of fact, go ahead, Sarah. Go ahead.
Well, it's interesting because for me, I came into the crypto space based on Cliff High, who's like a technology guy mostly. And he has the supercomputer, right, that analyzes words, and it's predictive text supposedly, where he can figure out what trends might look like based on words people are putting into computers and social media and all these things. And I was thinking, this is so incredible. And it really, especially in the crypto space where the words don't have a lot of overlap, they're new words, a lot of them, it has been relatively accurate. But it's interesting to hear you speak, because I'm interested what you think about that, because obviously you're saying this is what everyone should be doing, and this is really how all software should be maintained. We should be looking just at language. What are people saying? What are they searching? This is how we can know what's coming next, right?
Exactly right. I think all the conversations are there now, whether they're on Telegram or WeChat or WhatsApp or Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn. You have to join the conversations together, let the algorithms of the AI match up, and just start connecting people live and in real time and pinging their phones. This is not a complex problem to solve, but this fight to eliminate everyone else and dominate everyone else, it's a futile fight. It doesn't work. It doesn't help humanity. It doesn't help the planet. It doesn't help us solve problems. You've got to share the data, cocktail it together, and ping everyone's phone and say, Sarah meet Matt, Matt meet Penny, Penny meet Thomas, Thomas meet Ross, and just ping everyone's application in real time. All of the data's there. I think the thing is, these guys don't realize that these crypto networks are actually a threat. They don't respond.
Right.
Because they're a new kind of operation where you're incentivized to take part. Now, maybe we will get Facecoin and Tweetcoin and Amazon and Googlecoin, and maybe all those things will come. But now if you don't pay for someone's attention, you're dead. They just don't bother because they have too many.
I think I think using your children as an example was spot on. Mine are a little bit younger. I've got 4 of them, Thomas, and they're 14 to 20. So I see it. Like, I see the way they consume. It's in micro pieces, but they know way more about what's going on in their micro pieces than I do reading 20 articles in a day. So it's fascinating the way, as you said, they almost have a filter that is able to say that's total noise. I don't even need to look at it. Don't care. I'm hungry, as you said, and mine totally are in that space because they're teenagers. They need first dinner, second dinner, and then, late dinner at 1 in the morning when I'm, kind of rousing to get up in the morning because I work in markets on the West Coast. These suckers are having the third dinner meal.
It's crazy because they also do consume garbage. And I think it's fair to say this. I have a 19-year-old stepdaughter, and she watches people eat and like Snapchats herself eating. So there's definitely the common food issue, but I do think also they consume tons of horrible content.
Junk. Well, let me ask you this.
I don't have great filters.
I was watching my son the other day. I'm like, what are you watching? And it was on YouTube. I said, are you on Twitch? He's like, and he's 16. He's like, what's that? I'm like, oh, wow, I know something more than my 16-year-old. But he was watching on YouTube somebody play Fortnite, which is the latest craze over here in America. It's all Fortnite. All the memes are Fortnite. And he's literally watching somebody else play, and he's telling my 14-year-old, Peter, look at how good this guy is. I'm like, who cares? To your point, Sarah. So,
but it's the community, right? It is the community.
It is, exactly, and so that's what I want. That's where I wanted to bring this back to Thomas, because
So those communities, Matt, they've got to be tokenized, right? And they're gonna be tokenized. As I say, whether it's Facebook Facecoin or Twitter Tweetcoin or Google Coin or Telegram's TON coin, what I'm interested in is the old brands, because I work with a lot of old brands, and they're big multi-billion-dollar companies, and either I advise them or I'm a board member supporting them. They have got to figure out how to tokenize not just their customer base, they've got to tokenize their supplier base, their shareholder base, and their employee base. And you know, most people in companies are disengaged from what the board members say. Right. They don't read the emails of the CEO. They don't care what the CEO says, man or woman. Culture is very disconnected in companies in North America and Europe. And so you've got to pay for attention. And I'm very interested in the tokenomics of how that's going to work now.
Because it's so crazy, even because I've been telling Matt we're going to start uploading our videos on Steemit, which is basically YouTube, but with tokens, the steaming tokens. And all the people that I know that are really big on YouTube are starting to move to Steemit because people don't want the advertising. They want to pay for the things they want to watch. They want to upvote the things that they like with their tokens or whatever. And you're right, consuming everything basically is going to move in the direction. I guess I hadn't thought about it on this much larger scale. It's just, this is how people want to consume everything. They want to.
Well, I was talking to a great young boy this morning. I mean, young boy. I say young boy. He's probably 40, but he seemed young to me. And he said, I tweeted it actually. He said it. Let me see if I can. I come out of this. Oh, I can look at my big screens. Where is he? Antoine, yeah. One thing he said this morning that I loved, I tweeted it, is this. He said, the entire world can be tokenized if users are interested in the incentives. The entire world can be tokenized if users are interested in the incentives. So I do think...
I agree with that, by the way.
And so now you've got the problem that this thing about time and attention and technology remains an issue, is the token is another disturbance to the old board member, to the old co. So right. I tend to think the old co's are going to buy the crypto co's. The ones that get away, that become giant crypto co's, like Cardano, like Ethereum, like Ripple, who are now so big, it's hard to define what they are. And I don't know whether being a billionaire, a token billionaire, is even real,
right?
Because in the end of the day, these are vouchers, these are tokens. This is not cash. But I can see things like air mile tokens. They've got to be all put on Ethereum or something like Ethereum. All the food tokens have got to go onto a standard platform. Anything that incentivizes behavior needs to be on a standard platform. We've got 36 air mile programs. We've got different food token programs. With so many different systems, they need standardizing. And I think the brands are going to wake up. I don't think the brands are going to wake up while we're in a growing market. And I look at 2018, and 2018 to me looks like 1998. Last year looked like 1997.
I agree.
.coin is .com, .com is .coin, and it's going to go beep, boop, and we're going to get a correction. And in the crypto crash, I can see the old co's coming in like vultures. I might even be working for the old co's at that time, picking up the pieces.
Yeah, now's the time that they're doing their homework, for sure, or the wise ones are. I would agree with you, Thomas. And one of the things, are you a fan of Taleb, Nassim Taleb? You know, Black Swan, anti-fragility.
Yep.
And well, I really resonate both Black Swan and anti-fragility. The idea that things should fail quickly without intervention. And I really, when I think about that, I always come back to the tokenization spot that we're in. The great thing that I see with this type of technology, whether it's AR, machine learning, language, neural language processing, all these fancy business terms, but the tokenization, what I love about it is because you're paying for success, you better be good, or you're going to fail quickly, to your point. And so can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what will be some of the differentiators to success versus failing quickly? And by quickly, by the way, you're spot on. I agree with you. We're going to go 1,500, 3,000, 5,000, then there'll be this crash. But what comes from that shakeout? What will succeed in your estimation?
Well, it's a tough call to call winners in advance of an event.
I'm more macro, like, you know, where is the block really succeeding today, and where is it sprouting its roots, and even with the shakeout going to survive? Give me macro. I'm not asking for individual, you know, tokens necessarily.
I think in terms of what's going to win, you have to take commodity products that we all buy all the time. Like broadbands, like mobile subscriptions, like smartphones, like flights, like food, stuff that we're buying all the time, not niche products, commodity stuff we're consuming all the time. You've got to assume that the token co's are going to be big players in commodities that we're consuming: cars, food, flights, hotels, movies, smartphones, mobile bandwidth, broadband, TV. There's going to be a big token battle there. Who will win that battle? Well, my gut feel is leaning towards Ethereum. I think Ethereum looks like the dominant player in the ICO place right now. I'm very fascinated by the leader, Vitalik Buterin, because he's got that sort of Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg weird look about him. And I met both of them when they were kids, so I know. I'm very fascinated by the concept of the tyranny of the leader of the token co. All these articles I read in the blogs about the tyranny of the leader, how bad it is to have a leader, and how everything must be decentralized. And I just find it so weird, because you've got to have somebody putting their hand up and saying, "I'm having a go."
Yep.
You know, people might really dislike Donald Trump for various reasons, but he's a lot like Margaret Thatcher. He's saying, "I'm going this way, come with me or clear off."
Right.
And well, we had 11 years of that with Margaret Thatcher. Love him or hate him, people do like to be led, and I think Vitalik is leading Ethereum really well. I'm very fascinated by Charles Hoskinson at Cardano. I think he's special as well. I'm not really into the trading Bitcoin, buy, sell, go 20,000, 5,000, but to me that's trivia. Whether it's 10,000 or a million, or that's, to me, what I'm interested in is things like something like air miles. There are millions and millions and millions of air miles, billions of air miles, liabilities sitting on balance sheets. If we get those air miles off those balance sheets as liabilities, strip them out and put them in token codes, that boosts the share price of old coin.
Right.
If we strip out those air miles and stick them on Ethereum or Cardano, wherever they're going to sit, on one of those token code platforms, that creates a new code based on community, attention, flights, movements, recommendations, bring a friend, and creates two separate companies, a community company and a platform company, in this case an airline, a seat on an airline. I think once an old code board member knows he can get that liability of air miles off his balance sheet into a token code, he's got motivation.
Huge.
And he'll do something about it, or she'll do something about it, whoever's running that board. So I can see airline air miles as a big deal, because it gets liabilities of old balance sheets, and suggests that audiences, communities, fans, whatever you call people who love a product, belong in a separate company. And it's almost like tokenomics is the birth of the community company.
A true public company.
Yeah, well, very good. That's good spin. That's very good spin, man. A true public company in that sense. What isn't clear to me is the relationship between token co and old co. What is that relationship? Is it a license? Is it a foundation? Is it a cross-share swap? What is that relationship? Because I can see Token Co buying Old Co and Old Co buying Token Co. Might be better to keep them apart.
Right.
So to pick winners, you've got to assume that there'll be token-based search. So if Google don't do token-based search, somebody will launch it, whether it's DuckDuckGo or another alternative. Token-based search makes sense. You get tokens when you search, you get tokens when you find the right thing, you get token if you send it to Sarah, if Sarah sends it to Matt, there's another token. You get rewarded for search, but you get rewarded on the outcome, the success. I think you can expect to see that with Twitter and Facebook. You get tokens for liking things, for sharing things, for connecting things, for inviting your friends, for member get member. I can see all of that working for Basecoin, Tweetcoin, LinkedIn Coin, whatever they are. But the one that really fascinates me the most in terms of pick a winner outside of Cardano, Ethereum, and the up-and-comer from Jason Goldberg, One Simple Token. I know Jason really well. Helped him a lot get his ICO away in terms of tweets at One Simple Token. I really think that's very clever what Jason Goldberg's doing at One Simple Token. Is the one that fascinates me is what Pavel Durov is doing at Telegram, because Telegram's likely to be the biggest ICO of 2018, and it will make the market. We know he's got 200 million users on Telegram. We know Telegram is now vastly superior to WhatsApp,
right?
In terms of group size. Groups on WhatsApp are limited to 256 people. I've seen groups on Telegram of 80,000 people. I mean, a live chat group of 80,000 people is just lunacy. But it works. Every one of the ICOs is sitting in a Telegram group. So there's 1,400 groups. He's got 200 million members. He's got 70 billion messages a day. When he does his token, and you've got an incentive to build a group, bring your friends, run events, teach your friends how to use Telegram, member get member, and you're tokenized for that.
Yeah.
I think Telegram could be a revolution.
Yeah.
And I think because he's a very young, smart guy with a lot of track record behind him, because that's a phenomenal product. He could actually turn out to be the winner and overtake Ethereum, Cardano, One Simple Token. He could be the winner, because once Silicon Valley sees a multi-billion-dollar ICO, and they see it in China at WeChat and Tencent and Alibaba, once Jack sees it, once Pony Ma sees it, once they see one into the billions, then boom, we get lifted. And then Oldco will say, we need a bit of that tokenomics. Get that tokenomics, people, in my boardroom now. I want a tokenomics plan or a cryptonomics plan.
Absolutely.
And we don't know what a tokenomics plan is yet, a cryptonomics plan is yet. Right. And I know Don's doing a great job with his blockchain revolution book, and William Mugaya is doing a great job getting the message out there. But to go into a boardroom with a tokenomics plan or a cryptonomics plan to an old co, I mean, where do you buy that stuff? It's not available from McKinsey or Booz Allen or Accenture. It will be.
Yeah.
It's not available yet because no one's done it. And I look at Durov and I think that kid's going to pull off a revolution, almost like Amazon, Facebook, and Google did 20 years ago.
You know, I've thought the same thing, and I'm fascinated because don't you think he's pivoted? I mean, I don't think he started out thinking I'm going to be, doing an ICO when he started Telegram, or maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think you're right. Obviously, there's lots of pivots and there's a lot of luck in business, as
which I say is fantastic. I mean, that's the brilliance in it, right? I mean, Bill Gates was extremely lucky. The time was right, but he also made the move. It's the guy making the first moves, second moves that are so powerful to me, and that's a great. It's just a fascinating story.
Absolutely right. And I think when you look at when you look at what's happening with 1,400, 1,500 ICOs, $5 billion raised, maybe $6 billion raised, that's a lot of capital that was missed by the capital markets. Now, relatively speaking, to the New York and London markets, it's trivial. It's a nothing number.
Yeah.
But the total cap is not a nothing number.
No, it's huge.
5, 6, 700 billion cap now. The dot-com peak in 2000 hit 1.7 trillion. We're a third of the way into .coin matching .com.
Right.
And we should be there by 2020.
Yeah.
So this is a real market. It's attacking VCs. It's new capital. It's new investors. It's lots of millennials. They're all chatting on their smartphones in Telegram and Twitter and Reddit. To me, it's proper new capital supporting new ideas that the old capital markets have missed. And I see that as exciting because people in New York missed it, London missed it, San Francisco missed it, even the Chinese missed it. So it's new. It's really new.
It's really new. It's still new. Yeah.
Once you get 9-figure ICOs, once you see proper raises, then all the big old codes will come up and say, get someone in here who can give me a tokenomics plan.
What do you think about some of these really old codes that were close to trivialization, like Kodak coming out with their own, token? I actually see it as brilliance.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of IP at Kodak. There's a lot of patents at Kodak. They're licensing those patents. They're putting tokens around them. But they could launch 50 different products there easily.
Yeah, I agree.
And respect to the board members there who've gone, hey, how about this idea? Because I think they're using some patent from one of the photos that they take for the National Security Center. So the great thing about Kodak is because it's such a great brand, even when it's dead, it's still alive.
Right.
It's almost like a person in the grave coming out and saying, hey, I'm still here.
I'm still here. Exactly.
I'm not that guy can't die.
Oh my gosh. I had this exact moment in Israel where someone said, that's a Kodak moment. And I was with a Russian guy and he said, what is this Kodak moment? And I was thinking, oh my gosh, what incredible marketing that actually we have something that's a Kodak moment. I have to go, you guys, but I just wanted to thank you so much, Thomas. If you guys want to keep going when I'm gone, it's great. But I also wanted to make sure to give a shout out somehow in some miracle of Thomas being way ahead of the game. His Twitter is @ThomasPower. Wow. Good job out of you on that. And
Thomas, you're also sitting on the board of 9 Spokes, which I've been playing around since I started reaching out with you for the last couple of weeks, and I'm impressed with the platform. So you can also follow @9 Spokes, learn more about that dashboard that really is everything and more social. I mean, to me, I was like, wow.
It's a beautiful product. That founded by two great guys I like very much.
But don't try to be friends with Thomas Power on LinkedIn because he's maxed out. He's maxed out his friendship group on LinkedIn. So
yeah, the problem with Reed and Jeff is they won't let you have more than 30,000 connections on LinkedIn, which is just a pain. So I've got 3,000 people waiting. I have to wait for someone to die before I can add someone. Somebody dies a week, and someone dies, I add someone.
So if you get friended by Thomas, then like RIP, you need to say goodbye to someone out there.
That's right. That's true.
Hey Thomas, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you coming on, and if possible, we'll have you back on maybe for a shorter segment on some more particulars. So I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.